David Perlman here with Chris Donnelly at the Whole Note Summer Studio. Chris, when you create a work, we were talking about Metamorphosis, which is, you said, a 50-minute suite with 10 distinct movements to it. Your composing process for creating that, is that strongly improvisational, or where does writing it all down come into it, and where in the context of a project like that does having written it down constrain you to stay within what you've written?
Good question. When I'm performing or recording, people often ask me, was that all written out or was that improvised? And when people ask me that question, my job is done. I have fulfilled what, I don't want them to know. I don't want it to be an issue. Whether this is improvised or if this is through composed, whether I wrote down every single note and executed every single note, or if I improvised the whole thing, I'm not sure if that matters. Because it doesn't matter to me. And that's part of my jazz classical background, I think, playing out. Now, structuring the actual composition of Metamorphosis, now that's a little bit different because I do want to improvise because that's important, but at the same time when I'm composing this 50-minute work, there needs to be some structure, some kind of written out. For me, there needed to be some kind of strict written out element to it.
But is that as precise as score in the classical sense, or chart in the jazz sense?
It's a spectrum. If you look at written music and improvised music on a spectrum, where on one end it's completely free structure, completely improvised, having no idea what's happening next, and on the other end is completely prepared, completely written out. Every note is prepared and is going to be played that way every single time. And in Metamorphosis, I explore the entire spectrum of that.
Interesting.
And that was important for me personally to explore that aspect of music making. But it was also necessary, for me to play this composition the whole 50 minutes. And when people listen to it, I hope. Part of me, I can't demand or expect anybody to listen to it, but I hope that when they listen to it, they aren't thinking whether this is improvised or not, or whether this is all written out, because to me that's almost besides the point.
Have you performed it live and is it now part of your repertoire to do that?
Yep. I've performed it live 3 or 4 times. No.
Any upcoming?
Well, finding the right venue for this is important.
Exactly.
So what I'll do is I'll perform excerpts. So I'm performing in Stratford in August.
At Stratford Summer Music?
At Stratford Summer Music. So I'll probably play a short excerpt of that.
From it.
And there's a few things coming up in the fall. At Walter Hall, and I might play the full thing, I might play an excerpt. But it's great because I wrote it and I can play it how I want.
Right.
So if I want to play a 5-minute excerpt, I can do that. If I want to play a half-an-hour excerpt, I can do that. If I want to play the whole thing, I can do that too. But I would make sure that the venue is appropriate and it fits the mood and it fits the vibe of the venue and the audience.